my car. You have no right to take it. I live here.
Step away from the vehicle, ma'am. It's being impounded by the sheriff's department.
The orange strobe lights hit my bedroom wall first, spinning like a silent fire drill before the sound caught up and the metal clank of a chain snapped me fully awake. Cold air slapped my face when I opened the front door. It smelled like wet asphalt, diesel, and Karen's awful vanilla creamer as she stood in a pink robe at the end of my Cul De Sac driveway, pointing at my old blue truck already half lifted on a tow. It was May 3, 2024, just after 5:12 a.m., and the whole street looked like a crime scene over a paid-off pickup. Karen waved a clipboard at the tow driver and said my truck was ugly, non-compliant, and dragging down property values. This all started because Karen towed a car from my Cul De Sac driveway for being ugly and had no idea I am their sheriff. I walked barefoot down the driveway, toes numb from the cold concrete. I told the tow driver calmly that this was my private driveway, my registered vehicle, insured and current. Karen cut in, loud and sharp, saying the HOA had voted and my truck was now a nuisance and a blight. A couple of neighbors cracked their blinds, then shut them fast when she glanced their way. I asked to see the written violation. She said it had been emailed last night at 9 p.m., so it was official. No warning on my door. No certified letter. Just her, a tow truck, and a smug smile. I told her this wasn't how towing from private property worked. She smirked and said if I had a problem, I could bring it up at the next HOA board meeting. The truck rolled away anyway, taillights fading into the early morning haze while my own neighbors pretended they saw nothing. By noon the fine notice had hit my inbox, $300 for violation, $450 for towing, due in 7 days. At the HOA office later that week, the board sat stiff, eyes dipped to their laptops while Karen ran the meeting like a queen. I explained again, slowly, that my truck was lawful, parked on my property, and not abandoned. I asked them to reverse the tow and waive the fines. Karen said the decision was final. A couple of members shifted in their chairs, but no one spoke up. One texted me later that she had already filed 9 complaints on other neighbors this year and they were afraid she would target them next. That was my line in the sand. I promised myself I would use proper channels only. No yelling, no threats. Just law, records, and patience. The next morning at the sheriff's office, I sat at my desk with a cup of bitter breakroom coffee and opened a fresh legal pad. I pulled the dispatch logs for our subdivision for the last year, which I could do lawfully as part of my job. Then I filed a public records request with the city for code enforcement calls connected to our HOA. When the records clerk slid the folder over, the file landed with 63 pages. Timeline Item 1 April 5 at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. Call after call, all from the same phone number, all about different neighbors, always exaggerating. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I printed the HOA bylaws, the tow contract, and our state statute on removal of vehicles from private property. In our state, you cannot tow a car from a private driveway without the owner's consent or a lawful order. Every page tightened the knot in my chest, but it was a clean knot. Lawful. Sharp. I requested a special HOA meeting by certified letter, citing the bylaws that Karen thought no one read. I sent a calm, very official email inviting a city code inspector and a patrol supervisor I trusted, one who did not live under HOA rule and wouldn't fold under glare. The night of the meeting, the clubhouse parking lot was packed by 6:45 p.m. Phones were already out, little screens glowing as neighbors whispered. Some of them had their own Karen stories and wanted to see what would happen. Karen walked in first, high heels clicking, folder in hand, acting like this was just another monthly ambush she would win. She opened with a speech about community standards and pride. I waited until she finished. Then I placed my thick binder on the table, the sound echoing off the cheap wood panel walls. I started with the timeline. I read off the dates and times. April 5th at 4:27 a.m., false trespass call on the Browns for parking their visiting daughter's car on the street. June 12th at 10:03 p.m., noise complaint about a birthday party that ended at 9. November 2nd at 6:41 a.m., alleged suspicious vehicle that turned out to be the mail carrier. Every call tied back to Karen. I flipped to photos of my truck from the morning of May 3rd, date stamped, clean, and legal on my driveway. I slid copies of the towing statute to the board, to the city inspector, and to my patrol supervisor. Then I stepped back. My supervisor, in uniform, asked calmly who had ordered the tow from private property without police involvement. All eyes turned to Karen. She tried to say the board had voted, but one member finally spoke up and said she had pushed it through herself. That was when my supervisor asked me, in front of everyone, to confirm my current position. I said I served as a sheriff's deputy for the county, assigned to our district, and that I knew the law on private property tows very well. The room went quiet. A couple of neighbors' jaws literally dropped. Someone in the back whispered "ugly car sheriff," and a few people snorted. The inspector announced that the tow had likely violated both city code and state law. My supervisor explained, in plain, slow words, that misuse of emergency lines, false reports, and unlawful towing orders could lead to fines, restitution, and even charges. Karen's face went the color of her pink robe. Phone cameras leaned in. The board's attorney, who had joined by video, advised immediately that the HOA should reverse the fine, reimburse all towing and storage fees, and consider removing Karen as president to limit liability. In the back row, someone quietly clapped, and then it spread, low but steady. Within 2 weeks, my truck was back in my driveway, tow charges wiped, and an envelope arrived with a check for $500 labeled damages and inconvenience. The HOA sent out a formal notice that Karen had resigned as president and was barred from serving on any committee for 5 years. The city issued her citations for misuse of services and ordered her to attend a hearing. Neighbors who used to duck behind curtains now waved when I drove by. One brought over cookies and apologized for not speaking up sooner. We organized a small block cookout in the Cul De Sac. Kids drew chalk cars and fake tow trucks on the street, and one little boy drew a badge on my driveway and said this is so they remember. The air smelled like charcoal, burgers, and finally, peace. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.